The two factors that go hand in hand while analyzing and selecting a security are risk and return, and that is the topic for today's lecture. We are going to start with one of the most important concept of finance, that is risk and return. Remember, the literal meaning of the word risk is the possibility of loss or that degree of probability of loss. Risk refers to the chance that a variation will occur between the expected return and the actual return. Risk is denoted by this symbol, standard deviation. Risk is measured by standard deviation and return is denoted by capital R. Now, risk is measured both in terms of standard deviation, and there is one more concept called coefficient of variation. In short, it is called as CV. So, higher the amount of standard deviation, higher will be the risk involved in a security, and lower the value of standard deviation and CV, coefficient of variation, lower will be the risk involved in a particular security. So an investor will always prefer a security which is having lower amount of risk and higher amount of return. Now, risk return is one such concept which is always under the scrutiny whenever an investor is analyzing or selecting a particular security. Now, return must be differentiated between holding period return and expected return, because there is a concept of realized return. Now, realized return or the holding period return can be calculated by making use of this formula, that is D plus P1 minus P0 whole divided by P0 into 100. This is how we can always calculate the value of realized return or the holding period return or the actual return, where R stands for return, D stands for dividend, because when we are talking about equity shares, they are always giving you the dividend. So that's an inflow for an investor. P1 stands for price at the end, and P0 stands for price in the beginning. Now, for example, if an investor has purchased a security at rupees 100, that's the value of P0. He has sold it after a year at a price of 120. Now the ending price over here is P1. Meanwhile, the security gave a dividend of rupees 5. The dividend offered was rupees 5. So dividend was 5. The security was purchased for rupees 100 and it went up till 120. Then the investor sold it at the end of the year. So the return, the value of return was 5 is the dividend yield. Now the capital gain would be 120 minus 100. That will be equal to 20 rupees. And the P0 price in the beginning was 100. Solving for all these factors, the return is coming out to be 5 plus 20, that is 25 upon 100 into 100. It is coming out to be 25%. So that's how the return over here will be calculated. The return is a comprehensive concept comprising of dividend as well as the capital gain. So over here we took an example where the company gave a dividend of rupees 5. The capital gain was around 20 rupees. So 5 plus 20 was equal to 25. The original price at which the security was purchased was rupees 100, thus giving a return of 25%. So the realized return is made up of these components, which are dividend as well as the capital gain, which is the difference between the ending price and the beginning price. So that's how you can always calculate the return of the company, but this return should be differentiated between this holding period return as well as the expected return. Now the expected return of a company can be calculated by this formula, that is summation P into R. Expected return is denoted by this symbol, which is R bar, expected return or average return. That is summation of P. P stands for probability and R stands for return. So probability multiplied by individual return of that particular case, summing up, adding up all these values will give you the value of R bar, that is expected return. However, whenever the probabilities are not given, so R bar can be calculated by this formula, which is simply summation R upon N. Now this is applicable when probabilities are not given. So average return can be calculated by adding up all the values of return divided by the number of observations. So you must remember these formula. This is for the realized return or holding period return. This formula is for expected return or average return, right? That is summation R upon R, and expected return is summation P into R. Then this concept has also been discussed, which is denoted by standard deviation, that is the risk of a particular company. Now standard deviation is summation of P into R minus R bar whole square. Summation of probability multiplied by R minus R bar whole square. Now when probabilities are not given, so you have a different formula for standard deviation, that is summation of R minus R bar whole square whole divided by N. So we can calculate expected return and standard deviation using these formula. Then one more concept which was discussed recently was coefficient of variation, denoted by CV. The full form is coefficient of variation, that is risk upon expected return, standard deviation upon R bar. So that's how you will be calculating, you will be applying these formulae to calculate the value of expected return and the risk, that is denoted by standard deviation and coefficient of variation. Remember the full form of CD, that's coefficient of variation. Now let us take some examples to to understand the concept of risk as well as return. So kindly give me the values of the first illustration that we have in the handbooks. What are the values of probability of the first company, that is ABC Limited?
0.10.
Probability is 0.10,
0.20.
0.20,
0.40.
0.40,
0.20.
0.10. Now we are examining ABC Limited and we also have the data of XYZ Limited. So there are two companies over here. We are going to calculate the expected return and standard deviation or the risk of each security. And remember, the security, the share, the stock whose return is higher and the risk is minimum is always selected, and that is what has been discussed over here. You will always select that particular security in which the risk is lower and the return is higher. So we have the values of probability. What else is given to us? Return. Okay, return is expressed in percentage. So what are the values of return?
-8.
-8. Sometimes the value of the return can go negative. If the price of a particular stock is falling, so it can always give you negative returns, and that is happening over here. The value is -8. The return is negative. Next, 10.
8.
After 10 it is 8,
5.
5
4.
and 4. Is it 4 or -4? Just check it.
-4.
-4. Okay. Now let's calculate the value of expected return. So it is P into R. we are going to apply this formula to calculate the value of R bar, that is summation of P into R. You'll have to multiply the value of probability with the return which is in front of it. So 0.10 multiplied by -8,
Minus point.
that is minus 0.8. 0.20 into 10, that will be equal to 2. 0.40 into 8,
3.2.
that is 3.2. 0.20 into 5,
1.
that is 1. And 0.10 into -4, that is minus 0.4. So in order to calculate the value of R bar, we can apply either of these two formula, but since the probabilities are given over here, so we'll have to go with this formula, that is summation P into R. Now P into R, adding up all the values will give us the return. So please add up all the values and tell me what is the expected return over here.
5.
That is 5, right? The value of summation of P into R, it is 5. Thus we can say that R bar is equal to 5%, since you know the return is expressed in percentage. So the expected return is also being expressed in percentage. So R bar is equal to 5% of this first company, which is ABC Limited. Now we'll have to calculate the risk also. Now risk is square root of summation P into R minus R bar whole square. Now we'll have to construct a column, that is R minus R bar, then R minus R bar whole square, and after that P into R minus R bar whole square. So remember, the risk of this company is calculated by either of these two formulae, but since the probabilities are given, so we'll have to apply that particular formula where the probabilities are given. Had these probabilities were not given, then we could have made use of this formula. So this is to be used when probabilities are not given, and this has to be used when probabilities are given to you. Square root of summation P into R minus R bar whole square, and that is why we constructed all these columns which are R minus R bar, square of R minus R bar, and P into R minus R bar whole square. So how will you calculate it? Please see, -8 minus 5, the value will be -30. 10 minus 5 will be equal to 5 only. 8 minus 5 will be 3. 5 minus 5 will be 0. And -4 minus 5 will be equal to -9. Now R minus R bar whole square minus 13 whole square
116.
will be equal to 169. Next 5 square will be 25. 3 square will be 9. 0 square will be 0. And -9 square will be equal to 81. Now P into R minus R bar whole square, 169 multiplied by probability 0.10. How much will be that?
16.9.
16.9. 25 multiplied by 0.20.
5.
That is equal to 5. 9 multiplied by 0.40 will be 3.6. 0 multiplied by anything will give you 0 only. And 81 multiplied by 0.1, that is 8.1. Now adding up all these values, kindly add up all these values and see what is the total of P into R minus R bar whole square.
33.6.
33.6. 33.6. Now the standard deviation will be square root of summation P into R minus R bar whole square. So it is square root of 33.6. Do the square root of it and tell me what is the value that you are getting after doing the square root of it.
5.8.
5.8.
8.
Exactly 5.8. Take it up till at least 2 decimal places.
5.79.
Okay, 5.79 will be rounded off to 5.8. the risk of this particular company is coming as 5.8. Now this was about the first company, ABC Limited. Now we'll have to take up the data of another company, that is XYZ Limited, and we'll have to check out whether the risk is higher in that company or the risk is higher in this particular company, ABC Limited. So I guess all of you have taken down these formulae, right? So we'll start calculation, by applying the concepts of risk and return for this second company, which is XYZ. So what are the data that is given to us? Probability. What is the value of probability over here? 0.10, 0.20, 0.40, 0.20, and 0.10. And the value of return,
14,
that is 14%, and
minus 4,
6,
15,
15,
again 15.
and 15. Now since the probabilities are given to us, so we are going to make use of this formula once again, P into R, to find out the value of expected return of XYZ and then the value of standard deviation. So the next column that we will be constructing is P into R, that is probability multiplied by the return. So 0.10 multiplied by 14 will give you 1.4, minus 4 multiplied by 20, that will be minus 0.8, 0.40 into 6, this will be equal to 2.4, 15 multiplied by 0.20, that will be equal to 3, and 15 multiplied by 0.10, that will be equal to 1.5. So adding up all these values, we will get the value of R bar. So just add up all the values to find out summation P into R. Now that will be equal to 7.5. So we can say that the expected return of XYZ Limited is coming out to be 7.5%. Now we are going to make use of this formula, that is standard deviation is square root of summation P into R minus R bar whole square, and for that we will have to construct these columns R minus R bar, then R minus R bar whole square, and P into R minus R bar whole square. So this is going to be the format that will be used to calculate the expected return of this particular company. R minus R bar. Now R bar was 7.5. So 14 minus 7.5. That will be equal to 6.5. Minus 4 minus 7.5. That will be minus 11.5. 6 minus 7.5 will be minus 1.5. Then 15 minus 7.5 is 7.5, and 15 minus 7.5 is again 7.5. So we have the value of R minus R bar. Now we'll have to square it up. So 6.5 square will give you
42.25.
42.25. Minus 11.5 whole square, the square of negative number will always be positive. So 11.5 square will be 130.25. 132.25. Then minus 1.5 square will be 2.25. Then 7.5 square,
56.25.
that will be equal to 56.25, and over here it will be again 56.25. Now we will have to multiply these values with the probabilities which are right in front of them. So 42.25 multiplied by 0.10 will be equal to 4.225. Then 132.25 multiplied by 0.20.
26.45.
26.45. 2.25 multiplied by 0.40.
0.90.
0.90. Then 56.25 multiplied by 0.20.
11.25.
11.25. And finally 56.25 multiplied by 0.10 will give you 5.625. Now add up all these values to get the value of summation P into R minus R bar whole square. Adding up all these values is giving you
48.45.
48.45. Right? Check down the values and see whether all of you are getting it as 48.45. 48.45. Now we calculate the risk by using the same formula, that is summation P into R minus R bar whole square. Now this is square root of 48.45. Do the square root of it and see what is the value of standard deviation.
6.96.
6.96. Now that's the value of standard deviation. Now when we are examining both these companies, ABC Limited and XYZ Limited, we can see that the expected return of ABC Limited was only 5%. Right? So when we are doing the examination of both these companies, ABC Limited, the expected return was only 5%, while the expected return of XYZ is coming as 7.5%. So we can see that the expected return of XYZ is pretty high. So according to the concept of return, XYZ will be selected. Now we are also looking at the risk. The risk of ABC Limited was only 5.8. Right, the risk was only 5.8%, while the risk of XYZ is higher, that is 6.96. So when we are examining a company from the point of view of risk, so the value of risk is lower in this company ABC. So when we are examining both these companies, we can come to this inference that expected return of XYZ is higher. According to return, this company XYZ should be selected, while when you are looking at the concept of risk, the risk of ABC is lower. So according to risk, ABC should be selected. Now CV comes into picture. CV stands for coefficient of variation. So ultimately, if an investor has to select a better security, so this is going to help the investor. Coefficient of variation is standard deviation upon R bar. Now we will calculate the coefficient of variation of ABC first. So for ABC, the CV will be risk, that is 5.8 upon return, that is 5. So just divide 5.8 upon 5 and see what is the value that you are getting. 1.16. So the value of coefficient of variation is 1.16. Now looking at this company XYZ, the CV will be risk is 6.96, while the expected return is 7.5. So 6.96 upon 7.5. What will be the value of CV? 0.928. Now see, the coefficient of variation is a more superior measure of risk, and the security of which the coefficient of variation is lower should always be selected. So CV of XYZ is quite low as compared to the coefficient of variation of ABC. Now here the coefficient of variation of XYZ is 0.928 as compared to the coefficient of variation of ABC, which is 1.16. So ultimately the investor will be selecting the stock of XYZ because the coefficient of variation of XYZ is lower, it is lesser as compared to the coefficient of variation of ABC. So ultimately whenever there is a tie between return or risk, So CV comes into picture, and the security of which the coefficient of variation is lower, it should always be preferred, it should always be selected. That is why over here the security XYZ will be preferred, will be selected as compared to the security ABC. That is the concept of risk and return.